Good morning, Mini Path Spiritual Center, and welcome to the sanctuary. Everybody come in and find a seat. Everybody's loving on each other this morning. We love to see that. That's what we're all about, right? So happy to see all your smiling faces this morning. I'm happy to see anybody's face this morning, right? Most of us have been dug into our houses and surviving our ice apocalypse, but we are here today. The sun is shining. And we are happy to be here today. So on behalf of Reverend Deb Moore, I'm Ryan Gill. This is the Sanctuary Band, y'all. That's Jackie and Jackson. We're going to start off with a couple of songs back-to-back to get our energy up, to get us focused on having a really good service today, and make a statement here by these two songs. My God is so good to me. Let's stand up and rock it out. I got up this morning singing, God is so good. I got up this morning singing, God is so good. I got up this morning singing, God is so good. My God is so good to me. I'm feeling good down in my soul, yeah, God is so good. I am feeling good down in my soul, yeah, God is so good. Feeling good down in my soul, yeah, God is so good. My God is so good to me. Every day, in every way, God is so good. Every day, in every way, God is so good. Every day, in every way, God is so good. My God is so good to me. All right, let's hear this one. In my time of trial, I know. Let me hear you. In my time of trial, I know. In my time of trial, I know. My God is so good to me. When my day is over, I know. When my day is over, I know God is so good. When my day is over, I know God is so good. My God is so good to me. Every day, in every way, God is so good. Every day, in every way, God is so good. Every day, in every way, God is so good. My God is so, my God is so, my God is so good to me. My God is so good to me. I am the place where God shows up. Where God lives, moves and breathes and has its being. I am the place where God shows up. I am the place where God lives, moves and breathes and has its being. I am the place where God shows up. Am I strong enough to bear the burdens that sometimes come living this thing called life? Am I wise enough to make the right decisions when I'm standing at the fork in the road? Sometimes I wonder right. Thank you so much. Please be seated. Doesn't it feel good to just sing? Right? Get that energy out. Welcome to Mini Path Spiritual Center, everyone. We're so happy to have you here today. Be able to get a spiritual release from all the crazy tension that we've been under. How many of you have power? Can I get an amen and hallelujah? That's right. We're going to get a little fundamental right now. That's right. No, we're not. No, we're not. No, we're not. But we will get really spiritual, okay? Because there is a spiritual element to all of this. And if you look for it, if you meditate upon it, it will become evident to you. Maybe not now, but in time, we're going to understand all of this, aren't we? Yeah. How many of you have water? Water is wonderful. We have neither. NES posted yesterday that February 7th is our expected date for power. Whoop, whoop. At that point, we can assess the water damage from our ceiling that collapsed. And so, yeah. Checked into the hotel yesterday, our third hotel in a week, and the reservation is for a month. So, yes, say a prayer. We would appreciate that. Let's see, what else? We have had to postpone some things. So, Frank, will you come up with us and give some announcements and tell us what's going on? Everybody say hi to Frank.
Hi, Frank. Oh, no. All the lights are out.
Oh, don't scare us, Ken.
Just messing. You can turn them back
these
on. Just kidding. Look at all that.
Everybody just freaked out.
Oh, my gosh. What's cool, y'all? Happy Imbolc. Today is the Celtic Festival of Imbolc, which is the halfway point between the winter solstice and the spring equinox. So we're getting up on there. Announcements for Sunday, February 1st. Happy Class, February 3rd at 6 p.m. I know that a lot of us have been under a lot of stress. So coming to Happy Class is a really great way to kind of discharge that energy, all that stress out of you in a really nice and safe environment.
And we're anticipating the parking lot to be clear by then.
Absolutely. Where fitness meets fun with cardio drumming along with mindful stretching, promoting physical, mental, and cognitive wellness. Feast for the Soul. Yes. Is an annual 40-day spiritual practice journey that encourages mindfulness, meditation, and community engagement. The ceremony starts with a practice which is at your own pace, and we are going to meet this Wednesday on Zoom, and we are just going to meditate, and if you want to talk about something, if you want to pray on something, this is just to kind of spiritually feed your day. The Connection and Creation Soul Realization Retreat is postponed, so we will give you another date for that. The Let's Cleanse the Church Day, which is going to be today after service, is also postponed. Instead, we're going to do a circle. And if you want to stay for that, this circle is just to kind of talk about what you're going through, process the last week. If you just feel like you just need to kind of empty out and release, this is just a safe space to do that. So it's just going to be after the service. Our second Astro Chat on February 22nd here at MPSC. The conversation starts at 1 p.m. Bring a lunch or feel free to grab lunch and bring back, or bring it and store it in the fridge. See Valerie Haley for more info. Pranic Healing, Sunday, February 15th from 4 to 6 here at MPSC. Deborah Champion will be hosting the event that is open to anyone interested in energy healing. All meeting and activity links and contact numbers can be found on the website, Weekly Happenings, Google Calendar, or you can always email the church. Thank you.
We were talking about good things coming out of all this craziness, and one thing that came out of the pandemic is that we all learned how to do Zoom, right? I mean, before the pandemic, I had heard of Zoom and I had seen Zoom maybe once or twice, but now it's like old hat. So we're able to hop online and and have a little gathering online on Wednesday evenings for this 40-day Feast for the Soul, which is just kind of like, keeping us on our spiritual practice track, right? And it's always good to have that. So that's just one example of many that can come out of hard times. So we're happy to do that. We have a centering thought? Yeah, that's right. And I have to tell you, this centering thought today is for me.
Good morning, Mini Pass.
Good morning.
Y'all okay? Yeah? Okay, good. All right, so let's begin this portion of our service by taking a deep centering breath. Today's centering thought is, I let go, let God, and have faith. Trying to do everything by myself can be exhausting, but relying solely on the divine can feel as though I'm not doing enough to help myself. And sometimes it seems that no matter what I do, I have no control over some of the situations in my life. I find the perfect balance of activity and surrender when I let go and let the divine presence within me give me the knowing that it is in control. In this place of cooperation, my human and my divine natures are in harmony. Staying on my spiritual path and being an active participant in my spiritual community keeps me motivated and confident on my journey through life. I take useful action and do what is mine to do in my world, my spiritual community, and the world around me. When I feel complete in my outside efforts, I let go and release my thoughts and concerns about whether my efforts were enough. I have faith that the creator of the universe is bringing life together and including me in a divine plan. I can look at past experiences where I've trusted the divine to know that I am in good hands. So I trust my guidance to deliver me on the right path and direct my steps. I let go, trusting that the best outcome is on its way. And now please repeat these affirming statements after me. I make positive contributions to my spiritual community and the world around me. I make positive contributions to my spiritual community and the world around me. I find the perfect balance of activity and surrender when I let go and let God. I find the perfect balance of activity and surrender when I let go and let God. I let go, trusting that the best outcome is on its way. I let go, trusting the best outcome is on its way. And so it is.
So let's sing about that. Let's all stand up and sing Turn It Over. seated.
I am so happy to see all of you. Oh my gosh. Last week, first off, I was gone to India, and then I came back, and I was only about 10% here because of jet lag. And then the ice-pocalypse, and I feel like I haven't seen y'all in forever. And what a beautiful thing it is to have spiritual community that you miss when you're not in their presence and you long to see again. I want to share with you a couple of things. This song that Ryan chose for today is perfect. Turn it over. Take it to God in prayer. We have some folks in our spiritual community who are in need of a little surrounding with love. I don't know if you know, but we don't have a guitarist today because Mary Grace had a sledding accident and broke her leg and had to have surgery, had to have something inserted. So I believe she's home now. We miss her terribly. And then, of course, you know, Ryan and Frank are the nomads. And so have Kelly and Jason have been nomads. Several people have been living in hotels. We got a lot of folks who could just be surrounded by love right now. And when we take it to God in prayer here at Many Paths, what we mean by that is your idea of God, sacredness, the higher self, Krishna, Allah, Shiva, Jesus, whoever you need that to be. We first release. We first let go. If you've been through many of my meditations, then you know that a lot of times the first thing I do is set everything aside. Set everything aside, right? That's the prayer part. Jesus, take my fear. Shiva, take my worry, right? God, take my concerns about this so that I can clear out and get centered in you, completely centered in you. So I invite you to close your eyes for just a moment. Take a deep breath. And begin by silently addressing your vision of God in this moment. The I am. The source. And whatever is on your mind, hand it over to them. God, take my pain. Shiva, destroy my illusions. Jesus, take my sorrows. Mother, take my worries. Take my history. Take my story. Help me to let go of everything I think I am. And rest in my true nature. Help me to stop feeling love and start being love. Spirit, I don't want to experience freedom. I want to be freedom. I want to know who I already am. Whole. Sacred. One with you. Let us be in that space of oneness, in the stillness, in the silence. The more time that I spend in my sacred center, communing with the sacred nature of my being, the clearer my path becomes. I no longer have to ask, what should I do? All I have to ask is, what would love do? Because that's who I am. What would peace do? What would freedom do in this moment? All I have to do is be who I am. That one I am so familiar with because I have taken the time in silence and stillness to commune with that nature. I am love. What would love do right now?
Just before you say something you can't take away, take a breath and let it out. Try to think about what would love do now. Wondering if you should cross that line for good. Whatever you decide, ask yourself from inside, what would love do now? 'Cause everything is either an act of love or a cry for love. That's why for love we try for love. In the end, that's all we know that's real. Whether right or wrong doesn't matter, just as long as you let your heart decide. Ask yourself from inside, what would love do now? 'Cause everything is either something you can't take away. Take a breath, then let it out, and try to think about what would love do now. What would love do now? What would love do now?
I haven't lost my power, but I've had to blow my nose about every 5 minutes. Does that count for anything? Woo! I'm so glad y'all are here. Let me tell you something. When we decided to have service today, and then it started snowing again, and I thought, if we got like 3 people here, I'll feel good about it. It'll be fine, whatever. Everybody's going to be where they're supposed to be. We know that's always true. And so thank goodness y'all are here. This talk is for one of you or me or both. All right? So I told you we're in a series on Shiva. And so the title of my talk today is Dear Shiva, Help Me Get Me Out of My Way. So as I was preparing for this, I thought, maybe I should have talked more about the things we can't control, because we've all been at the mercy of things we can't control the past week, right? But the truth is that this is still relevant, because it's not about what we can't control, those things we can't control. It is about our reaction to everything that comes about in our life. Now, just as a little reminder, of course, Shiva's part of the Trimurti in Hinduism, part of the 3 main gods. We've got Brahma, who is the creator. And by the way, it's really interesting, but even though Brahma's kind of like the creator, there's only one real temple to Brahma in all of India, and it's in Pushkar, right? And so it's one of the only temples to where we were just a few weeks ago. It was immensely warmer than it is right now. Yes, no ice. So Brahma is not really a god that has a lot of temples. And then there's Vishnu, who's the sustainer. Krishna is one of his avatars. There's lots of temples to Vishnu and Shiva and all those folks. And then there's Shiva, the destroyer. And Shiva is probably, Shaivism, the following of Shiva is probably the largest group, even though, it's not distinct lines between who follows what god in India. There's like 33 million gods. There's a god of motorcycles. As my friend JD told me the first time I was in India, he said, if you don't find the god you want, just make one. It's okay. It's really fine. Just create the God that works for you in this moment. So this prayer, help me get me out of my way, isn't a prayer asking the divine to change me. It's a prayer asking the divine to destroy the delusion that we aren't already free, right? Anything that keeps us from knowing the freedom we are already is a delusion that needs to be destroyed. So I had introduced the prayer I'm working with, the Shiva prayer I'm working with during this season a couple of weeks ago. Remove, destroy, or transform anything which keeps me from you. And as I heard about people's ceilings falling in, I felt a little guilty about introducing this prayer but I'm not that powerful. The ice storm, I didn't create the ice storm. Now let me just get clear about something, because I come from a spiritual tradition where a lot of folks like this exist. I don't hold with that uber manifestation that clings to the absolute faith that we create every single thing in our experience. I don't hold to that. We create our reaction to every single thing in our experience, but we don't create everything, right? It's a little bit, as a matter of fact, dare I say it, a little bit ridiculous. What if I pray for a beautiful sunny day on that day that my outdoor wedding is going to happen, and it happens, and I'm like, I'm so powerful, I manifested a beautiful sunny day. Somewhere there's a farmer praying for rain, right? Somewhere there's a farmer praying for rain. And so I knew a guy a few years ago who was one of these, I think one of the dangers we get into in any of our spiritual journey is when we start clinging to something and believe that it absolutely has to hold true. I have to test it against everything, and it always has to hold true. Right? I think we need to be a little bit more spiritually flexible than that. Because I talked to a guy a couple years ago who believed in this uber manifestation. We create everything. You know, he was a big follower of the Course in Miracles. Beautiful, beautiful work. I have nothing against that. But he was absolutely had to believe that we created everything. And then I saw him talk to a Jewish woman and say, if you give me 5 minutes, I'll explain the Holocaust to you. And I really admired her grace in not smacking him up against the side of the head in that moment. Because it was not just inappropriate, it was repulsive in that moment. It was offensive, it was repulsive. I don't hold to that, while at the same time, I do hold to the idea that I have power in co-creating my experience. I hold that lightly, though. I hold that lightly. I didn't create an ice storm. We all are kind of living in reaction to what is happening in this dynamic world that we are experiencing. Weather just happens. If I had any control over it, no one would ever die in a tornado or a tsunami or a hurricane ever again. So it's not about what's going on in life. It's about our response to life. And so the question that we have to ask ourselves is, what is really in our way? Is it life or the story we tell ourselves about life, right? I love this picture. It's a little bit fuzzy. That's as big as I could blow it up, and it would still be obvious that that's a horse. So this picture, you might have seen this before. It's made its rounds before. I looked it up because Google is my best friend, and I found out that the average adult horse weighs about 1,000 pounds. And I don't know, Google doesn't even know how much the average plastic chair weighs, but I'm going to say it's 10 pounds or less, right? And so this image, of course, is this idea that this huge animal that has the power to absolutely crush that plastic chair is tethered to that plastic chair because of a story that he's told himself. Maybe he's so used to being tethered, he feels the weight of that and he knows to just stand still. He's pulled against being tethered to something more stable so many times that he knows it doesn't even want to bother anymore. Our mind tries to protect us, but it often overprotects us. We let fear and doubt and old identities become the cage that we keep calling reality. This is our reality. This is the cage I'm living in. Now, as a pragmatist, and believe it or not, don't laugh, I am a pragmatist. I'm a very practical, realistic kind of person. I know how much money's in my bank account, right? I'm very practical about that. And as a pragmatist, though, I know that cage really, really well. I know that cage really well because I've learned how to see where the boundaries are. It can be extremely difficult to discern the difference between caution and incarceration. Right? The difference between caution and incarceration. Anaïs Nin, the French-American writer, said, "We don't see things as they are. We see them as we are." This past week, when the college was closed for Monday and Tuesday, and we're always very careful about not closing too much because there are certain governing boards like the Tennessee Higher Education Commission and the Tennessee Board of Regents and the Southern Association of Colleges and Schools that tell us you got to have so many contact hours with students to call it a semester. So we can't just willy-nilly just close every time we feel like it. So we had closed completely Monday and Tuesday, and then the word came out we would be virtual on Wednesday and Thursday. And so somewhere on Hip Gallatin or Hipper Gallatin or Don't Break Your Hip Gallatin, I don't know, one of them. That's for the older folks in Gallatin. Someone got on there, and she's a student at Vol State, where I work, and she had started complaining about the fact, I cannot believe that they're making us come back even virtually. I have not had power, da-da-da-da-da. My children are blah, blah, blah. She was having at it. So, of course, I got on there playing Vol State ambassador like I do, and I said, hello, I'm a professor at Vol State, and let me just, this is how we make this decision. It's a very tough thing to make a decision for 8,000 people, and we don't want to extend into May. So we have to kind of make sure we still have some instruction going on. She came back on, we can extend into May. Because all that mattered at that moment was her problem, right? And she was very irate, and she kept going, and I tried to go back. I said, just talk to your professors. We'll work with you. It'll be fine. She was still just irate. I just walked away. But people tend to do that. One of the best pieces of advice I ever got from a boss of mine years ago, he said, always remember this: praise publicly, complain privately. If you'll remember that, you'll save yourself from a lot. So this woman had never heard that. She was complaining very publicly. And I just left it. I walked away. And a few days later, I went to my Facebook Messenger app, which I never go into. Someone had sent me a message, and I saw there a message request. You know how when someone's not your friend, you message request. And I opened this message request, and it was from that person. And she said, I have been fretting over our interaction for the last 3 days. I am so sorry. I was frustrated, and I didn't know how to let it out. I was just so frustrated. And I wrote her back. I said, oh my gosh, I'm so impressed at your self-awareness. What a beautiful message you've given me. Because what she began to recognize is she didn't own the situation, but she owned her frustration. She didn't create the situation, but she created her frustration about it. And she was smart enough to recognize that, right? She began to see, I'm seeing this as I am right now. I'm frustrated. I've got children to take care of. I don't have electricity. And so the very first step, what a great first step in getting out of her own way, is just recognizing and owning her own emotional responses. So perhaps the place to begin in getting out of our own way is, before I pray for more wind in my sails, may I pray for help in raising the anchor, right? Anybody in here ever dreamed big dreams and wondered why they weren't coming true? Just me? Just me, all right? No, yeah, dreamed big dreams, wondered why they weren't coming true. How much of our life is spent at the helm thinking all we need is a little bit more wind? And sometimes we're being so cautious, so held back by our past, that we haven't even raised the sails. That's too dangerous. Talk about silly. I'm not even going to raise the sails. I'm just going to pray for wind. Maybe if I feel a little wind coming, I'll pop a little sail up over here. But the worst thing about it is we're so cautious. We have our anchors that are still those hooks still in us, right? Those things still holding us back. That anchor is a perfect metaphor for those things that live in our subconscious minds, those childhood traumas, those past hurts, the ones that make us determined to stay safe in the harbor, safe in our cage, right? So that brings us to our friend Shiva. This is a Shiva lingam. Here's one right here. I got this one in Pushkar. It looks like this. And so this is an aniconic symbol for Shiva, and it's about the balance of Shiva and Shakti energy. This part is called the lingam, this part is called the yoni, right? And it's supposed to symbolize the combination of male and female. I'll let you imagine that for yourself. You can use your own little thought process for that. But it is about the balance of masculine and feminine. It's about the balance of destruction and creation. It's about the removal of the false self so that we can commune with the true self, because that's where true balance lies. There's also, if you go to a metaphysical head shop or, a store, I'd call it metaphysical head shops, but whatever. You can get a stone like this. This is called a Shiva lingam. These are found in the Narmada River in central India. They're naturally tumbled, right? So they're naturally, it's the only place in the world where you find these particular stones. And it's called the Shiva Lingam stone. And it kind of represents the cosmic egg. This one isn't so egg-shaped, it's a little bit longer. But from which the universe was formed, it symbolizes the balance of masculine and feminine energies. So this is a good place to start in getting out of our own way, is to start with that process of self-inquiry, the honest awareness of our own nature, the unfiltered inspection of our false layers so that they can be identified and set aside. So I don't know if you know this or not, but I present a little masculine, right? A friend of mine, go ahead, it's okay. I present a little masculine. A person I worked with years ago said, you are the cutest little girl boy I've ever seen. And I was so confused and so happy all at the same time. I wasn't sure my feelings were all conflicting. But it was fine. You know, we all have, here's the thing, of course, in our society, we tend to blend masculine and feminine with gender identity, and ideally, we separate that completely out of gender identity. Right, but nonetheless, there are gender expectations in our society, whether on whether you should present masculine, whether you should present feminine. Because of my masculine, I present masculine. I've never tried to present masculine. I've just tried to be Deb, right? And this is who I am moving through the world. I just decided years ago I wasn't going to try to change it or apologize for it. I was just going to be it. And so because of that, and because of my Aries and my year of the dragon, and every other thing that makes me uber like this, I have a tendency to wait a really long time before I ask for help. And I've recognized that in myself. I've become aware of the fact that I will do almost anything before I ask for help. I'm just super independent. I can do it. I came here yesterday. 14 people had been by here. Ken had been by here. Ryan had been by here. Frank had been by here. I came by and I was going to go out there and move that damn tree, right? Because I'm just going to go. It's frozen to the ground, people. It's frozen to the ground. But my little independent self was going to go move that tree. When I finally recognize that, when I become aware of that tendency in me, and I lean into my communal, cooperative, teamwork, feminine mind, right? If the ultimate symbol, the extreme symbol of masculine independence is like one of those Bear Grylls survival people that live out in the woods and say, I can do this all on my own, the ultimate image of the feminine energy is the quilting bee, right? The sewing circle. Let's come together and let's accomplish something as a team, right? When I lean into that, I often feel a great sense of relief. And part of it comes from other people have good answers. Other people have good insight. They often give me exactly what I need to hear. But I also believe that part of it is because I've allowed balance to start happening. I'm leaning into my own balance. And so it feels good. My spirit is saying, yes, that's where it feels good. What kind of energy am I bringing to this moment? Sometimes the energy that fulfills the expectations I live by builds that cage around me. And I start to get confused about where I'm supposed to be. Am I just supposed to be uber free? I had a friend years ago who was like, her idea of living in a manifesting world where the sky's the limit and there is no lack was, let me just go, put a Lamborghini on my charge card. And that felt unrealistic to me. Where's the line between freedom and caution? So sometimes we have fear in wisdom's clothing. We often say, I'm just being realistic when we're actually being afraid. And I chose this picture on purpose because we often think of fear as being, associated with the timidity of the sheep. Fear is something that really kind of cowers, but I think fear is a predator hiding in our lives, waiting for the moment to strike. It's kind of just like over here saying, bah, don't pay attention to the sheep with the big nose, right? I'm just a sheep. I'm part of the normal day. Don't mind me. All is well, until it finds the opportunity to show itself and to mess up the whole program. But we have to give the wolf a little bit of a break because the wolf is just doing what wolves do, right? It needs to eat. And fear is just doing what fear does, and it needs to eat, right? You remember the two wolves? A couple years ago, this story was everywhere. You remember the story about the two wolves, the grandpa and the little boy? And the grandpa tells the little boy, son, inside of you there are two wolves warring with each other, right? One wolf is greed and anger and bitterness and hatefulness and bleh. And the other wolf is love and light and peace and joy and happiness. And the little boy says, well, which wolf wins? And the grandfather says, the one you feed, right? The wolf you feed is the wolf that wins. And so fear is like this wolf that we could do to starve a little bit. And the way we starve fear is we remember who we are. We spend time in the silence. We expose it. We balance our energies. We ask for help, right? That's the ways to expose fear. Sometimes when I finally do ask for help and I lean into that balance of my energy, I begin to feel that, you know what, fear was holding you back. A lot of times, for those of us who appear very independent, it's the fear that someone will see us as someone who doesn't know what to do. Right? That's the fear that's holding us back. Another energy that gets very confusing is, are you captaining the SS self-protection or the SS self-betrayal? If anybody looks up my AI search history, it's like, where is her brain? Give me a picture of a fish driving a boat, right? So this is the picture of the fish I like how he has little human hands on the helm there, right? The fish driving the boat. But this is precisely the picture that I wanted. Have you ever said to yourself, I am never going to let that happen again? About anything. They're not going to get me on that again. You won't catch me with that again. By golly. I'm going to protect myself. And sometimes we protect ourselves, and by doing so, we accidentally silence ourselves, we hide our light, we call it humility. And sometimes getting out of our way means letting ourselves be seen. This is a fish that will never get eaten by a shark. Right? Maybe his family got eaten by a shark. Maybe he got his little tail fin almost eaten by a shark. And he says, I'm never going to be eaten by a shark again. He's safe from that. Self-protection. But we live in self-protection that becomes self-betrayal that feels safe on one hand, but on the other, we're not quite able to breathe. Right? We're not quite able to breathe because it's not the environment that we're supposed to live in. These fine lines are sometimes really difficult to see, the line between self-protection and self-betrayal, the line between fear and wisdom, the line between assertive energy and receptive energy. How can we learn to identify these energies? How can we get in tune with it? Well, I'll give you a couple of ways to know. We can know whether it's our true nature or our ego nature acting. Number one, the ego wants control, the soul wants freedom. Alan Watts said that trying to control life is like trying to hold water in your fist, right? The ego's job is to control. This is not bad. This is its nature. It helps us make wise decisions. It helps us manage our money. It helps us weigh our options. Helps us do all these kinds of things. But our job then is to say, thank you for your data, ego. You may go now, right? Leave that on my desk and close the door on your way out. The ego is your secretary, your administrative assistant, but the soul wants freedom. The ego wants to hold on. The soul wants to let go. What is it you're holding on to? There's never a danger in letting go. There's never a danger. Let me just stop right now and let go of everything. Let me let go of all of my attachments. Let me go to my attachments of how many people will show up on a snowy, icy morning. Let me let go of my attachments to who will hear what they need to hear this morning. Let go of all of my attachments. It's okay. I don't need to control this. I just need to be free in this moment. The false self says, fix yourself. The true self says, trust yourself. That is a depiction of my favorite jazz pianist, Oscar Peterson. If you've never listened to any Oscar Peterson, do yourself a favor and go listen to him. He's the #1 influence on Jean-Baptiste, so many different pianists down the road. He is unbelievable. You listen to him and you're like, how can people do that with only 10 fingers? I don't know. He won 8 Grammy Awards. And you know, I love this idea here. In jazz, you have to trust yourself. There's a common idea that in jazz, there's no such thing as a wrong note. It's only wrong based upon what you play after it, right? The note you play after it can make it right or make it wrong, right? So the false self is like the strict music teacher wrapping your knuckles with a ruler when you chop up Tchaikovsky. They're over here. The true self says, swing, baby. You got the music in you. You have the notes in you. Trust that. It's like Michelangelo, who said every block of stone has the sculpture already in it. And the sculptor's job is just to take it away. He said, I saw the angel in the marble and carved until I set him free. So spiritual growth is less about improvement. It's more about remembering that I can trust myself, that I have those answers. The person says never. Presence says already. Shiva energy doesn't destroy us. It destroys what is false in us. What feels like loss may actually be liberation. The person, the ego, the personality will say, this will never happen. I'll never, will I ever know freedom? Will I ever awaken? I've been trying to do it for 20 years. Will I ever reach awareness and pure consciousness? I've been meditating for so many years, so many years, so many years. And the soul is saying, I'm right here. Just get still, I'm right here. That song earlier, everything is either an act of love or a cry for love. Isn't a cry for love an act of love? Right? You're already it. The cry for love is already, where's that cry coming from? Early in my spiritual journey, I was worried that I would lose my precious personality. I was told, you got to let go of everything. You got to let go of everything. But I like who I am. I don't want to be just some, kind of ethereal non-person over here chanting Shiva's name all day long. I like my personality. I like my sense of humor. What if I lose all of that? And here's the thing. I didn't have to give up any of those. I had to give up my attachment to them. I had to give up my need for them. I was nailing down the tarp on the very thing I was trying to find. Right? I was nailing the tarp down on the edges of the very thing that I was trying to find. We forget who we are and we get in our own way. We think we're a drop in the ocean when we're really the ocean in a drop. We believe the illusion that we're separate from love and wisdom and guidance, and that is the biggest obstacle of all. Believing that we are separate from what we already are. Sometimes we don't feel that, though. We don't feel what we already are. Sometimes it feels like we're broken. We're damaged, right? So let me give you just a slightly different perspective. A thought the next time you feel a little broken. I'm not broken. I'm just tangled. And grace wants to untangle me. I'm tangled up in my fears, my ego projections. I'm snared by my desire for self-protection. I'm caged in by my attachment to control. In traditional Christianity that I grew up in, we often used to think of grace as some kind of unmerited divine favor. You were saved even though you don't deserve it, right? And I like to shift that energy a little bit. One of the reasons why I love listening to Muji talk is because he came out of a similar kind of tradition. And he talks about grace a lot. He transfers grace into the newer understanding that I have. I want to share this quote of his on grace. He says, grace is everything. Grace is another name for what we are. Grace is indefinable, the ever-perfect, timeless. It is that in which the apparent timeful plays as names and forms in their brief dance as life. We are the experience and simultaneously the witness of this experience. And grace is that which calls you away from the chaos, away from the noise of the world. Grace is the breath of the self. Grace is what you live in. You don't hope for it. You don't, thank God I was given grace from some outside source. You accept the grace that you are. And when you accept that grace that you are, you can say, remove, destroy, or transform anything that keeps me from you, because I know that the you I'm talking about is my true nature. Remove, destroy, or transform anything that keeps me from living the fullness of who I am, that keeps me from knowing the divinity that I am, that keeps me from understanding that I'm okay, I'm here, I'm safe. Whatever keeps me from knowing that I already live in grace, destroy that. Whatever keeps me from knowing that I am not the one sitting in silence, but the silence itself. Whatever keeps me from knowing I am free and the cages are mirages. Whatever keeps me from knowing I am love, and whatever feels like the lack of love is false. Whatever keeps me from knowing my true nature as one with all that is holy, destroy that. Take that. Transform that. I hold nothing back. I don't need to soften it. I don't need to worry that destroy is too strong a word. If it keeps me from you, destroy it. Take it away, so that I may know you better and me fully. Namaste.
That was uplifting. We are grace. We are the grace of the divine. So when we connect to that and live from that, what kind of life are we going to have? Wow. All right, I want to thank everybody for being here today. Remind everybody that right after we finish, we're going to put a circle here in the room. And we're going to, if you want to, you're welcome to join. And we're just going to sit and process, talk about our week, laugh, cry, whatever we need to do to feel good. We're not going to stay long. This isn't going to be something we're going to draw out, but it's just a time for us to connect if we need to connect. And if not, we'll see you next week, right? Remind everybody that we have the blue vase there in the back for your paper donations. There's the PayPal QR code. I know that everybody's had a tough week, and some of us have had an expensive week, but we really appreciate everything that you do for us financially. We're very appreciative of that. Thank you so much. And we'll remind everybody about our Zoom call on Wednesday evening. We'll post the link for that on Facebook, and it'll be in our Tuesday What's Happening email blast that goes out. So if you want to join us and just check in, it'll be 45 minutes or so. Tell us how you are on your spiritual journey for this week, how things have been. If you've read something interesting, or if you have experienced something interesting, just bring it to the table and we'll talk about it. So check in on that for Wednesday. Come to Happy Class and release. Get some of that, what is that, oxytocin? Is that what that is? Flowing. And I promise you'll feel better after Happy Class. And with that being said, let's stand up and say our closing prayer. And let me get my stuff here, because Daff and We've got one 17-year-old whose mom refused to let her drive, and I said I would do the same thing. And then Mary Grace, just say a prayer for her that she heals well. We definitely miss her. Let's all say our closing prayer together. May I stay true to the path that leads me to the light that is mine to shine. May my light provide help and kindness to others on their journey. May I bring peace to every situation, comfort to the grieving, and love to all beings. May my heart remain centered on what is sacred to my soul. And so it is. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. All around the neighborhood, I'm gonna let it shine. Oh, all around the neighborhood, I'm gonna let it shine. All around the neighborhood, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. All right. Have a great week, everybody. We'll see you back next week.